It was a cold October night. The cats were creeping, the bats were screeching, the ghosts were seeking, the creek was leaking, and you were inside your bushcraft shelter playing YouTube videos on your phone. Is it still camping if it's only 46 feet from my house? You ponder in slight disdain of your situation. But your woes soon melt away as you land on Steve Wallis's YouTube channel. His warm and wholesome vibe and crafty sense of misadventure awashes you in a giddy sensation. You start to feel like a child again, discovering the magic in the world for the first time. What's more, Steve feels like the father figure you never had. The Divine Father. So what if your girlfriend's latent dissociative identity disorder woke up? Who cares if her naughty fox-girl alter banished her to the crypt? Making love under the full moon over a bowl of rice as an offering to Inari, then spending 72 minutes putting knots in her shibari robe just to bust in 14 seconds. Can't cut it every night. And it matters not that this foul demon grew bored of you and went to talk to Nick on the phone.
Do you want a video of me washing my hands?
But good old Steve helps you not think about that. So in return, you're going to bring him some entertainment and joy in the cold, restless night, as he has done for you.
No other than the Divine Father.
Disclaimer. Attempting to sneak up on and scare a man who is minding his own business and trying to make content for his fans while mourning the loss of his wife would not only be an egregious act of cruelty, but an undignified prank that reveals who you truly are as a person. But what if you did, though?
Is it worth it?
Oh yeah, it's worth it. If you're strong enough.
Our dear friend Steve Wallis has the dark urge to stealth camp in slightly illegal places. But why? Steve Wallis was born in Vancouver, Canada on September 10th, 1981, which makes him a Virgo. Uh-oh. Kinda like that time you and her were driving down the back roads. And all you asked her to do was not sneeze after the beach. But did she listen?
No.
Till you pull over to the side of the road and begin running, tearing, digging your way through the leaves and bushes and branches, trying to get to that light in the center. Where is it? Come dawn, you emerge from the forest only to find out that she is gone. And Virgos are the hardest ones to hunt down, because you never found her again.
Never trust a Virgo.
For a period of time as a young man, he lived in an RV in Victoria. When recalling this period of his life, he explained that the arrangement, which he referred to as boondocking, was out of necessity and not choice. When Wallis first became acquainted with YouTube, he assumed it was a form for posting viral joke videos. After posting a video of himself camping in -32°C weather and seeing the enthusiastic response it garnered in the comment section, he decided to focus on creating more of this type of content. Fast forward some years later and he's boondocking, urban stealthing, gold mining, bushcrafting, yard camping, parking lotting, starting fires with hand sanitizer, and of course, becoming the spiritual father you never had. So it's time to meet him in person, and what a better way than sneaking up on him and scaring the bejesus out of him while he's filming for his fans, all alone and vulnerable in the dark. It would truly show him the humorous nature of your character and gives his content the shock factor it so rightly deserves. So first, you're going to research his videos for clues on where he might go next. If that can't be achieved, then tracking his base of operations will be your next option. And through your refined and sophisticated method of stalking, you'll soon learn nothing and just want to give up. Go ahead and drink that hot juice.
Just give up. Steve will never adopt you and take you on his adventures. He'll never.
Just kidding. Once you put on the mask, you begin to think more clearly. the path appears before you in a vision.
I once met a man who was walking down the road. He was different looking, wore a strange mask. He told me something I'd never forget. It's funny how, in this journey of life, even though we may begin at different times and places, our paths cross with others so that we may share our love, compassion, observations, hope, and fucked up pranks. This is a design of the human condition that I appreciate and cherish. Then he shoved me onto the ground and ran away laughing. I no longer trust strangers.
Once you've concluded through various means of research and investigations where Steve will be next, you'll then arrive ahead of time and stalk him like the proverbial gray wolf upon the caribou. When approaching the scene, Steve is usually keenly aware of his surroundings. Because he's a Virgo, of course. They're so hard to catch. After hunkering down, he'll spread out his gear and do what he calls a step 2. What is a step 2? Step 2, baby, is day drinking in the woods, precariously watching through the trees in hopes of avoiding contact. Step 2 is the wild potential we all have to defy the herd, rebel against the system, and return to our primal animal ways. Step 2 is your weird childhood.
Personified.
Step 2 will usually be followed by Steve leaving the camp and performing a brief exploration of the area to check and make sure he's being stealthy enough.
He's not.
Once that is done, he will usually return to camp and start to prep a meal. Once the meal is consumed, he then hunkers down to sleep for the night. Knowing all this beforehand, if you're going to scare Steve properly, then one would only assume that you would have a mask and a prank weapon for maximum effect. Next, you would need to decide when to approach Steve, staying invisible until the last possible second. Thus, you'll need to evaluate a few environmental factors, such as terrain, weather, time of day. Where is that crazy Canadian sleeping tonight? And most importantly,
Crazy neighbor.
Steve usually never camps in very extreme places. The terrain will likely be easily accessible. You'll likely be able to cross great strides in mere seconds. However, the sound of rustling grass and leaves could give you away. Canada is no stranger to snow and rain. If it's raining or sleeting, good. You'll have sound to cover your devious approach. Snow on the ground, however, is not operational, for it maketh too much noise. Time of day. When to approach is always a most important decision for a would-be stalker. Do you move with the serpent's guile on your belly among the daylight leaves and grass? Do you shift in the twilight shadows like a hopefully not sparkly vampire? Or do you wait for the moon's silvered fingers to play before you enact thoughts and dreams too cursed for the day? Ah yes, nothing more vulnerable than a man sleeping all by himself in the middle of nowhere.
We need darkness, Jackie.
Where, oh where, is that crazy Canadian sleeping? Scaring Steve properly inside of a tent or tight structures simply isn't feasible if we want the scare to have maximum effect. Cutting through his tent with a chainsaw or machete would be funny, but it could cause damage to property or even injure Steve himself. Thus, entering a tent or tight closed spot would be untactical and out of the question. Overall, it would be best to strike while he is outside. But wait! If just so fate would have it that Steve is hunkering down in a cave or wide structure, oh boy, then there will be a step 2 to this scare, should you be able to corner him like the big beautiful mouse that he is inside of a wide structure. Lastly, and this is one of the most important rules for a successful scare, don't proceed if crazy neighbor is with Steve. Yes, crazy neighbor, the proverbial sidekick that sometimes accompanies Steve on his journey. He may seem like a humble and slow old codger. Maybe he even broke his pelvis in a fall. Get well soon, by the way. But He got the name Crazy from somewhere. And now, time for some Camping with Steve trivia. Crazy Neighbor got the name Crazy from serving in Vietnam, dementia, a slight case of rabies, paranoia, delusions of grandeur, factor 2 ego dystonic psychopathy, a funhouse full of mirrors, or the fact he reminds people of that stepdad y'all once had that was complicit in telling you the truth about Christmas while triangulating the rest of your family against you. Or Steve just made it up. Time's up. The answer is fuck if you know. But no doubt he is packing that heat, that shooter, that blaster, that blicky, that boomstick, that burner, that ghost load, that M1911A1 pistol iron welded and scraped down multiple times for maximum precision. Abort, abort, abort. Now you've calculated the perfect conditions for a successful scare. You've done your research and the time and place has come. You will big boss your way through the shadows towards Steve when he leaves the tent or structure. If Steve is sleeping in a tent this night, we will catch him in the afternoon or twilight during his stealth check. Once he comes back, it will be time to strike. Mask on and prank weapon in hand, you will launch into his field of view. In all probability, Steve will likely attempt to flee the area out of self-preservation. And you will let him escape. You will then pull out and leave at his camp a handwritten note detailing that this was a prank and asking if he'll adopt you and take you on camping adventures. You're an adult age, so adoption doesn't have to be necessary. Actually, it was just a joke. You can't help but keep joking. However, you're not joking about it.
Step 2.
Now, if Steve just so happens to be sleeping in a cave or large, spacious, roomy structure, you've stumbled across the opportunity for the ultimate scare. Let's begin. As darkness falls, it's almost time for Steve to hunker down for the night. Now you sneak, slide, crawl, hide, and slither unto the presence of he who sits inside. Wait, listen. Just as he finishes saying goodbye to his fans, you will spring upon him like the wolf to bear thy snarling jaw. Now he's cornered like a mouse, with nowhere to run. You won't let him talk his way out of this. Now you will put on the white mask. The white mask will now ask, did you know your human perception system is trash, Steve? Look, I can make you perceive me as sad by drawing an upside-down U where my mouth should be. I'm emotionally neutral, just thinking about bunnies, but you think I'm sad because of dry erase marker on a mask. Steve may continue to try and talk his way out of this. Don't let him. Now I'll draw a V over my eyes. Still bunnies, but you think I'm mad and worry you did something wrong. Did you do something wrong, Steve?
Where are you going? We're not done here.
Now I'll erase and draw a U, and you'll feel relieved. Still just bunnies in here, no change, but you're at ease now. You're at ease, Steve. At this point, Steve may be contracting his mandibular muscle, but will that really mean anything? Next, you'll pull off the mask and tell him it was a prank. Steve will find it so funny and find you so exotic that he'll definitely remember this and be your BFF for life.
I can't get tonight, and I was your best friend. I was lost all the senses, and I just can't go. Yeah, I was your best friend. I was